So our guest tonight, we have a Madden streamer on Twitch. He's a former D1 athlete at the University of Albany. He is a philosophy major. He is a Twitch partner. He is adamant in his stance as a self-professed Big Daddy-O that Five Guys is the GOAT of fast food. Please welcome to the Retro Zone one Fendler. Fendler, it's great to have you tonight, man. How are you?
Goodness gracious, Nate, man, it's so great to be here. I'm glad that you included in the intro. My chat is trying to sell me as a medium daddy-o, and I'm not really standing for that. So I appreciate that we're setting the record straight right off the rip. And before you give me a chance to monologue a little bit here, while I do have the opportunity, I have to tell you that in my own household, I've had to explain. How did my girlfriend ask, who is actually Imagine in the chat right now? It's a family affair. My mom is here. Yup. And Imagine is here. I think her question is, what's your thing with Retro Nate? And I was like, he's just so good. He's just so good. And I don't do any of the, I don't do any charity viewing. I don't do any of this support for support stuff. I'm not, if I'm going to say anything about somebody, it's not going to be from any of those motivations. And I don't say that to sound like an astronaut, but just to give some context when I say that I love everything you do, man. You're one of the places that I feel like I can learn a little bit about streaming myself. And I that's part of what made me so excited to hop on the show with you. When you asked, it was super easy. I am a huge Retro Nate fan, so this is super dope for me, and I appreciate you making some time tonight to chat with your boy.
Shoot, I mean that's
so, what is the thing? What is your thing with Retro Nate? I think was her exact question.
All right.
I was like,
okay,
how much time do you have?
So here's the thing. There is a giggle counter in the chat tonight for how often I do what I just did when you gushed over me and I went, oh my god. Woo-hoo. So thank you for that. The idea for the talk came from your series of Fen Talks. I mean, it was when I saw that, and I'd seen other people doing it, but when I saw that, I was like, that's a vibe I really want to go for. And we got to sit down with Initial recently. This is a structure I feel more comfortable with. Because I like to dialogue with people. I just talk all the time. And most people in my chat have said repeatedly the worst part of the Retro Nate stream is Retro Nate himself, because people just love to chop it up and chat with everyone. So thank you. I appreciate that. I feel the same. I've enjoyed very much seeing your stream, and we'll get into all that and all of where we sit today. But I can assure Imagine, don't worry, we don't have any firm plans yet for anything. But we do want to talk after this, and for that matter, oh hey, how you doing? If we could all just get on a quick jump on a call and figure out an arrangement long term,
just with an open mind.
That's all
really.
That's
you know
all.
What I'm saying? Yeah,
So yeah, but before we get into anything streaming, I want to talk a little bit about you, the history, how you got started, really where the whole story began. And to me, the fascinating part is, obviously, it sounds like you couldn't be a varsity volleyball player, so you had to settle for D1 football. But how did that all start? What is the story behind going to U of A and playing ball there?
Oh man, football was a huge part of my coming of age story. It was the source of like a lot of my most important lessons. It was both. So I started in 7th grade, and at the time, my father, he didn't tell me this until much later, but he said, I figured you had about 2 or 3 weeks before I was picking you up from practice, and that would be the last football thing we did. For 7th and 8th, I had glasses at the time. I tried contacts, but I was just like a little too young for them. It didn't really work for me. So, here I was, quite a plump medium daddy-o at that point for certain. 7th, 8th grade, I had my glasses, stuffed up under my helmet, not kicking butt and taking any type of names on the field. But I wanted to be a part of something. I had moved to a new town in middle school. And, for me, it was the kids that I wanted to sit with at lunch were all wearing these Vikings jerseys. The Vikings was the PAL team from my town. So I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be friends with the cooler kids. So tapped in with them over there and got some, like I said, some of my greatest, most valuable life lessons from football. It wasn't until later that football taught me humility, which was the most staying power for certain. but I know you asked kind of about the UA recruitment experience,
Yeah.
and that kind of comes at exactly the wrong time in your life cycle. You know, so and specifically, you know, you're 17 years old. You are a medium, maybe even a big fish coming out of whatever size pond you're coming out of. You
Mhm.
have all this testosterone and ego and pride that you're trying to deal with, and these schools are coming to visit you, you know, a couple
It
times a week to tell you how great you are and how much of a difference you would make, and
yeah.
you know, this, that, and the third. So you can certainly put yourself up on a pedestal as a young gun. And I had what I think in hindsight was the benefit of having that experience kind of even out for me. So I was I went to U Albany because it was one of the only Division I schools that was recruiting me. It's not like I was, you know,
Yeah.
I'm 6'2" at the time. I was getting recruited at like 290 at center, so it was just big enough. But you know, for American football fans, you know that you know, Bama's not looking at you unless you're 6'7" and 350. So you know, I
Yeah.
took a shot on the Division I experience, and it didn't go as I expected it to go. So coming from all these highs and in high school, and the, you know, the buzz of being recruited in this way, and all these adults stroking your ego and, you know, what you could do, and the underclassmen still looking up to you. I tore my ACL during summer camp as a freshman, rehabbed it all year, fought as hard as I could, came back as a sophomore and tore my had a second degree tear of my hamstring in the same leg as a sophomore. So, you know, I'm at a school where I came to. I'm at U Albany. Like, I came here to play football. I'm a big guy. I've always predicated myself on physical expression, just like being a big dude. Like, you know, I turned what was a soft spot for me, being overweight as a kid, into, you know, what a strength of mine on the football
Yeah. An
field.
asset.
So, you
Yeah.
know, and then so in this kind of, you know, still a crucial time of development now in college as a sophomore, kind of had to figure out how I was going to pivot and readjust. And you know, that's kind of where the rest of the story starts. But yeah, in the interest of full disclosure, I was never, you know, a top recruit, but I got to, you know, feel the rush of being
Yeah.
recruited and desired, which is so exciting.
Sure.
And also, you know, had a very proximal experience of being humbled and, you know, kind of checked, and, you know, no, you thought you had it all figured out at
Yeah.
19. You're gonna have to go back to the drawing board for the first time, and that would be a recurring theme later. But yeah, man, it went exactly as it should have gone.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I don't look back on my experience like, man, if I just didn't. The kid that tore my ACL wound up being a suite mate of mine and is a very dear friend. It's
Oh,
like,
okay.
I don't have any inkling of like, oh man, like what if I didn't come up to practice that day, or what if I had rehabbed it one more year and came back as a junior. Um, I feel at peace that it taught me everything that I needed to learn. You know what I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
from that phase of my life.
Gotcha. And so it was, and that was it. It was sophomore year. It after the hamstring was that the
Yeah, so
okay.
so that started kind of the pivot. That was, I was done as a player, but it was important to me. I came to school to be a part of the program, so
Okay.
it was important to me to stay involved. So, you know, when I knew that the hamstring was bad and it was going to be, you know, at least another couple months, and still wasn't all the way up to strength from the ACL stuff. I met with the coaching staff, and I was basically like, listen, I made a commitment to be here, like to be a U Albany Great Dane, and I want to fulfill that commitment. It just doesn't look like I'll be able to do that in the capacity as a player. My body doesn't seem to be cut out for
Yeah.
this level of collision, and you know, it certainly makes me sad.
Yeah.
But I want to stay a part of what's going on. When I told the players, you know, for the years after that, I was able to. I stayed in the football circles. I think, you know, because of how they appreciated how I handled it, rather than just sneaking out the back door like a lot of guys would do. And
Sure.
because a lot of bodies would drop during camp. Camp is strenuous. It was U Albany. It was, I was 2 weeks into a 3 full week summer camp. So now, you know, you're leaving home, you know, in a new capacity over the summer when all your friends are home, enjoying, you know, the last couple hurrahs, the last week
Yeah.
of hurrahs
Yeah.
before they go off to school. And, you know, here we are walking off to, you know, hop on the gridiron with a bunch of grown men.
Yeah.
And it was a tough experience.
The development between 19 and or well 18, 17 even, and
Right.
21 is
Right.
massive, especially athletically.
Right.
Wow.
Remarkable. And
Yeah.
especially for guys that get, cooped up in the weight room
Yeah.
they keep them on campus and they're not going home for breaks. And, now they're 2 years into a Division I program, and it's totally different. So in telling the players, like I said, a lot of players would just kind of sneak out the door. They didn't want to deal with it. It was too much. The
Yeah.
hours were too long. And
Yeah.
it even still, um, it's pretty close with the subathon. But as far as like the most mentally taxing experiences of my life, college summer camp was certainly right up there. But
Wow.
I told the guys, I just stood in front of the room and I was like, listen, man, I still want to be your guys' biggest fan. Like I got emotional at the time because
Mhm.
I knew I was done with football forever at that point.
Yeah.
So I got emotional in front of them, and you would never expect it. Well, I mean, maybe you would if you got some faith in humanity, but a room, and this
Yeah.
was the O-line room that I told specifically. So a room full of 18 to 21-year-old, grimy, sweaty, big daddy-os.
Mhm.
Didn't know really what to expect. Told them, spilled my heart, and said, I'm still going to be your biggest fan, but and that's it.
Yeah.
And I'll see you guys around. Pretty much every single body in the room stood up and gave me a hug before I left. And it's one of those moments that, oh man, dude, it
Yeah.
stuck with me then, and it always
Jeez.
will. And just the contrast of like the coach was almost single-handedly ruined my love for football. So I had a very like strenuous relationship
Yeah.
with the coach.
Yeah.
He kind of came in the room and like looked at me like, why haven't you done it yet? Because I told him I wanted to just say one thing before he started.
Yeah.
So he kind of gave me the room. He's like, okay, Fang, go ahead. I was like, okay, bro, thanks a
Yeah.
lot. And, said my piece. And the way they responded to it, was evidence that I did the right thing. And so that's what happened. And then the rest of the guy transitioned onto the coaching staff, which probably was better. I probably was more tapped in with the team like that. I started to lose some weight, started to take a look at my physical fitness and things that I could do in the gym. And, my story kind of continues from there also, but I got to travel with the team. I got all the gear. I was, one of the film managers. So I would take film from one angle of practice, cut it up with our software to distribute it to coaches, depending on who needed what. And that's the capacity that I operated in on the team. I got, we have conference rings to show for it
Wow.
ever since. So
Wow.
like I said, it certainly wasn't according to plan, but it was a pivot that just felt like that was how it was supposed to go
Hmm.
in the first place.
Yeah.
So it was really a well-rounded experience, I would say.
Wow. Really interesting. Yeah. A couple of things when you were talking there, like when you spoke just about the recruitment process, like it's almost like 17-year-olds might be insecure and that the recruitment process kind of feeds that. And you're like, oh, someone would like to be around me. That's great. I'll take anyone who's willing. Like,
yeah, almost like it's designed that way.
Yeah. When that wears off in me, I'll let you know. Second is like football coaches of our generation, they were always so soft spot, right? They really give you the time and space to say what you need to when you've had a career-ending injury, isn't it? It's nice of them.
Oh my goodness.
Really interesting though. It's funny the way you tell that story. I'm connecting a lot of dots from the way I see you stream and I see that presence and how that's gone, but we won't skip